everybody will be so tired, because of the full meal, you'll be very sleepy. You will be free to sleep while I'm talking. As already Dr. Timothy Park informed, this forum was specially arranged as a celebration for the first anniversary of David Cho Museum and Library, cooperatively hosted by the East-West Center for Missions Research and Development and David Cho Missiological Institute. These two institutes are almost twin. As you guess, this forum is especially celebrating two entities under my name. So I was intended to be a listener, I was not supposed to be a speaker. I came here to hear from many of you. You come from various parts of the world. You are representing many countries throughout the world. Some of them come from the Africa. Some are representing the India and even Egypt, Indonesia, India, Nepal, Vietnam, many others, So this is really a great joy for me. Then I requested to Dr. Park omit my name from the list of the speaker. I also asked to find someone who are well-researched non-Western missionary movement. There are many specialists, those who are doing non-Western missionary movement throughout the world. But he, however, refused my request and insisted to prepare a paper on non-Western missionary movement history. Today, I'm here on this platform because of Dr. Timothy Park's strong request. I'd like to hear many different opinion from the many mission specialists, mission thinkers, mission leaders, and also mission professors. But I was not allowed to listen until this time. But the previous two speakers were very well presented, particularly Dr. Hensel. He most covered my area of the non-Western missionary movement while he was talking about the trend of world missionary movement. But I want to share with you all of my God-given special calling and advance for the progress of the networking of the non-Western movement. My presentation is very limited to my own experience, not to hold the pictures, but through my view, my experience, I will share with you. First of all, non-Western people, who are they? Non-Western world, who we are. Third world or non-Western world. Non-Western world was called as third world by the Western mission leaders since 1960. I'd like to share on who are the third world. Who are the third world? The third world has a different worldview from the Western view of the world. That's a different. Third world have their own worldview, not just as the same as with Westerners' worldview. Third world means the world which has lived a dark and shadowed life in the Eurocentric age of world. So we have a very sad experience throughout the more than 200 years under the colony of the Western world. Who are the we? Number one, politically, the third world means the non-allied world. Non-allied world. What that means, the non-allied world? That was, the nation has not belonged to the Eastern Bloc or the Western Bloc politically. During the 20th century, we were not belong to the Eastern Bloc, not belong to the Western Bloc. That's the third world. Economically, the third world means the underdeveloped or developing countries, which are suffering from the poor economics because of the lack of management ability, development or international trade, in spite of their abundant natural resources. In the third world, the abundant natural resource we have, but we didn't know how to manage, how to develop. That's why we suffered. Historically, the third world were colonial societies of the Western world. All of the third world were colony of the Western world. Number four, psychologically, the third world wanted to terminate from the remaining forces of the post-colonial society of the traditional imperialistic Western powers. Number five, racially and nationally, the third world nation which fought for gained their independence after the World War II. Nevertheless, they are still fighting against chaos or disorder as they build their own nations. Number 6, culturally, the third world means non-Western culture. Third world cultures are quite far different from the Western cultures. Number 7, regionally, religiously, third world means the non-Western, non-Christian world, non-Christian world, until 20th century, In mission, the third world means the new force of sending missions from the country which was traditionally only received missionary from the Western Christendom. We were receiving countries. Number 8, regionally, the third world seems to belong to the South. The third world occupies the 70% of world land basis. The third world includes 77% of the world population. The third world also means those who have lost their self-identity, those who have the high illiteracy rate, very low unemployment, a gulf between the rich and poor, underdeveloped health service, high mortality rate, the coexistence of the modern and the primitive, and the suffering from unceasing wars and battle waged by the superpowers. Number 9, on the other hand, the third world is also the world with better preserved natural environment, with less pollution from the modern science, with less of the decadent trend of the modernism, and with more humanistic societies. That's the third world. Now, secondly, we have to think about what's the distinction of the non-Western missions from traditional Western mission. Number 8. The Protestant mission of the Western Christendom was originated in the colonial age of the Western Christendom since AD 70-90. It was a mission from Western Christendom to their colonies in Africa and colonization of the Asian nations. Colonial mission coexisted with colonial powers' conquest, ruling, and exploiting, and all of those are mingled together with the missions. Mission was supported by the substituting Westernization for Christianization. Westernization was subsidized for the Christianization. The mission was the denominational expansion of the Western Christendom instead of planting the national churches. Still, we are calling Presbyterian, Methodist, Anglican. That is not to belong to the Christianity, that belong to the Western Christendom. The peculiarity of the colonial mission was the mixture of the colony, commerce, and Christianity together. 3C. Colony, commerce, and Christianity very mingled together. That the Western Protestant mission lasted 200 years. Next one is the non-Western missions were sprung up from the decolonized Asian and African continent after the end of the Second World War, 1945. Decolonized Asia and Africa become newly emerging mission forces after the Second World War. The most of them were the colonies of Western Christendom. Korea was very different. We were a colony of Japan. We were not a colony of Western powers. That's unique background become most strongest capital of Christianity in the world. Because we were not colony of the Western Christendom. That was a very unique reason. Why? How Korea was the capital of Christianity in the world. That's the reason. We were colony of the non-Christian, Shintoistic Japanese empire colony. Since they were Third World were exploited and oppressed from the authority of the colonial powers, the decolonized newly independent countries, most of them are restricted missionary activities in many third world countries. Under the unfavorable restrictive Christian activities of ruling powers of the one's own nation, the Asian churches and African churches were regenerated as the Christianity of their own nations from the former status of transplanted denominational church of Western Christendom. That's the change of the revolutionary change of the world after the Second World War. By the divine providence, the Third World began to aware the calling of missionary outreach beyond their own culture. They were exploited and oppressed for a long time as the colonies of the Western Christendom. And they were still poor. Some of them were still stateless people as refugees to the other continents. However, this third world Christian never stopped proclamation of gospel to the other people. This symptom was very much similar to the apostolic mission in AD 30 to 300. Also, genesis of the apostolic mission. Genesis of the apostolic mission were carried by the homeless, stateless, and poorest of scattered refugees. That was the apostolic mission. They were not rich country. Apostolic mission was not from the ruling power, but from the homeless, stateless, oppressed people began to plant gospel to the other land. Apostolic mission was passed from the oppressed, powerless nations to the wealthy, powerful nations and a ruling superpower emperor. Apostolic mission were tried to reach the wealthy countries, strong countries, powerful countries, even though they were homeless, stateless people. The apostolic mission was the itinerating mission, not invading mission, not occupying mission, itinerating, moving and moving for the new areas. They were crossing all the direction of every cultures. The center of the apostolic mission was the eschatological. Which proclaimed the second coming of Jesus Christ. Not building their own national kingdom on earth, The apostolic mission survived martyrdom. Mission means martyr. If they proclaim the return, the killing, the martyr, that was the apostolic mission. We are inherited from the apostolic genesis. That's the difference between the Western mission and non-Western mission. Currently, the difference of the world between the West and the East, between the North and South, are disappearing, almost same. Nothing different. They had to work separately in those days. It was difficult to create a common structure for working together in the past. And we could leave all the work, have the stronger people. But now it is impossible to have a vertical and subordinate relationship among the race and nations. Now we are the workers in Sunset, called the last harvest in the global villages. This last age requires mutual approach and coexistence, in which East and West are side by side. North and South are front to back. We have to work shoulder to shoulder and hand in hand. We cannot delay any longer. We cannot separate any longer. We should not stay outside the vineyard. The end of the world is approaching. We have to call the last mission forces without holding back any reserves. The movement of the non-Western mission advance represent a promise not to step back from the biblical principle by which God only will be glorified. The name of Jesus Christ be lifted on high in this last age, which is filled with non-biblical Christian movements, in which the stronger and oppressing and the weaker and suppressed, and in which they divided themselves one from another for their own benefit. Because all races and nations and countries, whether big or small, whether rich or poor, whether strong or weak, are called from the natural place to ministering within the kingdom of God. No one should use any humanistic prejudice or denominational ambition or any traditional Christian system of structure to hinder or oppress our independent, indigenous, spontaneous effort. As the world is divided into many ideologies, cultures, and social structures, we must recognize and respect the fact that we think differently and our situations are different from one another. But at the same time, because we know that one God called us and demands us, we have to understand one another, respect one another, share one another's burden, and accomplish our common goals by sharing the resource with weaker, poorer, the less powerful among us to meet each other's need. Indeed, our United Action for Non-Western Missionary Movement Advance is a very new movement. We represent new forces. It is unwise to put the new wine to the old wineskin. Last 50 years, I was making a new wineskin to hold new wine. To speak of a new age and new world means new times and new places, replacing an old age and old world. From the age of Mediterranean in 16th century and the finding of a new world. The 19th and 20th century seems to have been age of North Atlantic countries. They have worked hard for their own plan for the new world. Those two wineskins now seems to be too old for the new age and the new world of nearly 300 newly independent nations are existing. Old wineskin is useless for the new world. The world is changing so fast, so much, and so many ways that we cannot repair some of those old structures to meet our own need today. The door of the new age is opening to us. This is the age of the small. We were the small people, small nations. But this age is the for the small people. Little, the weak, replacing the big and strong. We were very little, very weak, very small. But replacing the big and the strong, it could be called the age of ants of the grasshopper. We are something like an ant, something like a grasshopper. Third world. I saw the big house of ants in Africa, Latin America. Such a small insect of the ants. In Africa, they build a very tall ant house, Such a small insect ants. How could we able to build such a big house? As tall as the human being, I found that in Africa. That was the ant's house. That exists in Latin America too, not only Africa. We'd like to build ants' house. We are the ants. We are the grasshopper. We are not a bigger one. We are not strong. Maybe the people of the non-Western world are to be like those ants. And our cooperative network as a house of ants, we organized the TWMA. Western people thought that a small ants house. We built the AMA, Asian Missions Association. The Western mission leaders thought that is nothing. They are doing some grasshopper, like a grasshopper. We are not the grasshopper, we are the ants. I certainly believe that we can join together our strength and the resource to help the Holy Spirit, as well we will see the miraculous outcome. We have learned from the teaching the mustard seed in New Testament, and fearful power of the grasshopper and the pentacle. Whole Egypt, that's a large Egypt. Because of the grasshopper, they will rule, We are just like ants and the grasshopper. Many people are looking down. We are approaching the age of which we will discover the power of the weak, power of the poor. Poorest country become the rich country now. Weak people become a very strong new forces. The year beyond 2000, may we be the age that will belong to the powerless and the weak of today. The coming new age is the age when the weak will join together to be the strong, and the weak still disgrace the strong. New age will be the last age of the Holy Spirit, in which the nucleus life of the world will explode. I tried to transform the seminary curriculum to the mission and evangelism centered long time ago. I was graduated with honor in the seminary in theology. I know the many very well-known Western theologians in the Princeton, just like Charles Haji, A. Haji, even the Gresham Machen. I know many of them. Even I know the Karl Barth. I studied Karl Barth well. Even I translated Gresham Machen's book, which was the Liberalism and Christianity, when I was a student. But that was useless. When I began to start the evangelism in the non-church county, I was called to preach the gospel to the non-reached people. And I started my ministry where no church already not exist yet. In the beginning, I found how to begin the evangelism. I know the theology well, but that was useless when I started evangelism. How can I teach the Charles Haji, A. Haji to them? Evangelism is very different from the theology, you know. So I was honored graduate of theology, the failure of the evangelism. I failed in the beginning. Then I started to rethink about the theology, how to transform the theological curriculum in the seminary. Not the theology centered, but the evangelism and mission centered. That was my dreaming. Then I began to learn the evangelism and mission. I went to the States in 1956 to start the evangelism. In the beginning, I went to the Providence, Rhode Island, went to the Providence Bible Institute to study evangelism. Then I moved to the missionary training, went to the Fort Washington. We are located at WEC Missionary Training Center in the Fort Washington. I was trained as a missionary of the WEC Center. Again, I moved to the Bethany Missionary College in Minnesota. I was opened how to make the missionaries. I learned from the Bethany Missionary College. Missionary making process, I found it over there. Then I moved to the Asbury Theological Seminary. Until the 1950s, there was no any seminary in the States. We are teaching the evangelism and mission for the THM program and the graduate school. Only Asbury Seminary at the Wilmore, Kentucky, they had the evangelism and mission center for the training. And I went there. I studied the mission under the J.T. Seaman, evangelism under the Robert Coleman. Finished my graduate degree at Asbury. I returned to Korea in 1960, after 4 years. Of course, after that, I got many honorary degrees. One was from the Fairhaven College, Jackson, Mississippi. The other one of the honorary degree from my alma mater, Asbury Theological Seminary. Finally, I earned a PhD at the William Carey International University in Pasadena. In 1961, I began to advocate for mission and evangelism study course at the seminaries in Korea. Until that time, 1960, no school, no seminary in Korea teaching mission and evangelism, only theology. I taught at the Presbyterian Seminary in Seoul, which is the largest seminary in Korea. Secondly, I was invited to teach at the Methodist Seminary in Seoul, Holiness Seminary, OMS. I was the advocate of the mission and evangelism instructor at that 3 seminaries. That was the beginning of the mission and evangelism course in seminary in Seoul. In 1963, until that time I taught in the seminary, but the seminary training is not enough, so I started International School of Mission as a graduate school. Later, that expanded as a East-West Center for Missions Research and Research Development. Through that institute, over 2,000 Asian missionaries were trained, not only Korean. Some students we gave the scholarship from Indonesia, from India, from Philippines, from Singapore, from Malaysia, from Hong Kong. Small, divided country prepared the scholarship for the Asian students, those who are bigger country than Korea. Indonesia, very large country, you know. India is the biggest country in Asia. But to invite the students, I gave the full scholarship, room and board, tuition, extra money for them. Even transportation between their country to Korea, I did by Korean money. That was my beginning of the missionary united action of the non-Western missionary movement in Asia. That was the beginning. 1973 was that. Next, I'd like to discuss about the network, non-Western missionary network and East-West cooperation. How I did for the networking and East-West cooperation. We Asians are very beginner, well-experienced Western specialists needed. So we have to have the East-West cooperation. Collaboration. Without collaboration, we cannot develop the non-Western missionary movement at all. I dreamed of building partnership with Western Mission to develop leadership for newly emerging Asian missions. I began to making the contact with the Asian Pacific Congress on Evangelism, held in Singapore, November 5 to 13 in 1968. While I was attending there, I visited Overseas Missionary Fellowship headquarters, which is located in Singapore, and I shared my idea with the chief executives of the OMF, my vision to cooperate between the East and West, to cooperate for training missionary of Korean mission agencies in Singapore under the OMF. After the short discussion, however, they coldly refused my proposal. Not at all. Even OMF, Hudson Taylor built OMF until 1968. They never dreamed Asian can be a missionaries yet. They coldly refused my proposal. But I was not disappointed yet. I continued to contact Western Mission Organization in Asia, asking their cooperation, Newly Emerging Missions Association. I went to the United States in 1969 to contact the Korea Christian and Missionary Alliance, CNMA Mission Board. CNMA Mission Board was located in Times Square in New York. I met Louis King, General Secretary. I proposed to work together in Vietnam because of the Korean missionaries are working already in Vietnam. Number of church already existed by the Korean missionaries. Vietnam was the CNMA's main mission field in Asia. So I approached the CNMA. I shared with them. They gently heard. They treated me well. Good lunch, buffet lunch was served for me. That was different from the OMF and the CNMA. However, gently refused. OMF was coldly refused, but the CNMA was gently refused. Then I continued my contact. I went to the Wilmington, Delaware, where the World Presbyterian Mission existing. I met the CEO. They also refused. They are still sending missionaries to Korea. Our missionaries are still working in Korea. Then how can Korea can be a missionary sending countries? They thought that, while we are working in Korea, how you could send your own missionary to the outside of your country? They didn't believe. That was 1969. not long time ago, Then I was tried to contact the other mission agencies in Wheaton, Illinois. I went to the team mission headquarters, the Evangelical Alliance mission, because I had a good contact team mission in Korea. When they started the Word of Life Press, I helped them how to register the press in Korean government. I helped them. Almost I organized the Word of Life Press in Korea. They began to start the radio station in Korea. Korean government strongly refused to build a private mission station, radio station. But I contacted the higher level of the Korean government people. Finally, endorsement come from the government. They opened the mission radio station in Korea. Because I helped them very well, I thought, I trusted, they will accept my proposal. After 1 month, 1 hour discussion, they say no. They say no. That's the reality until the 1969. Then my year-long effort to build a partnership with Western Mission was failed. Then I decided to build the Asian network first, and then later pursue the contact Western Mission. That's why I began to change the direction. I tried to contact the Western Mission first because they refused. I turned to the Asian first, Asia-wide network. In 1971, I made a special trip to certain countries in Asia. I went to Japan. I met Dr. Akira Hattori, who was a well-known evangelical leader, mission leader in Japan. And I went to the Hong Kong, met Dr. Philip Teng, Dr. Timothy Zhao. I went to Taiwan. I met David Liao. I went to the Thailand. Wichen Wataki Charuen, who was the secretary of the Church of Christ in Thailand. I went to the Singapore. Bishop Chandray, I met him. I went to Malaysia. G.D. James was the Asia Evangelistic Mission. I met him. I went to Philippines. I met Greg Kingston. I also contacted Don Van Ming in Vietnam. And I went to India. Samuel Kamalason and Theodore Williams, I met them. And went to Pakistan. Bishop Bajir Jiwan, I met him. I went to Bangladesh. I met Sabwa Sengma. That was the certain country in Asia. All of that peoples were major leader of Asian missionary movement in 1960s. They anonymously agreed to help launch a network of Asian missions. and to cooperate, fostering nature, mutual relationship between the partners. I was so happy. No one refused. Everybody very welcome. Then we finally reached the consensus to call all Asia Mission consultation, which would take place in Seoul in August 1973. In September 1971, I turned again to the Western country. I attended the Green Lake Conference, which was the joint meeting of the EFMA, IFMA. Around 1,000 mission leaders of the United States come together. At the platform, I have announced upcoming All Asia Missions Consultation Plan. I announced that. That will be held in the August 1973. I gave the open invitation to all the mission leaders. Those who are interested, please contact my room. I gave them my room number of the hotels. Response came from the many mission scholars. Dr. Ada Glassa from the Fuller School of World Mission, Dr. Ralph Winter, Peter Wagner, they joined to come to Korea to attend that. And George Peters from Dallas Seminary, he said, I will come. But all of them, they said, but I don't have the money to come to Korea. Then I said, don't worry about the money. I'll prepare your round-trip airfare. Maybe that was the first time which received the yellow man's money by the white man. And also, Jack Friesen, Executive Secretary, IFMA, he said, I will come. Clyde Taylor, Executive Secretary of the EFMA, he will come. Dr. Weldon Scott, General Secretary of the World Evangelical Fellowship, he said, I will come. Horace Williams, Asia Director for the WEC mission, he said, I will come. With my invitation to these high-level Western mission leaders, I achieved my goal of cooperation between the East and West for the Asian missionary leadership development. The All Asia Mission Consultation was held in Seoul from August 27 to September 1 in 1974. But I had a problem. I never discussed with the Asian leaders, I'm inviting Westerners. When they come, they found Western mission leaders. The Asian leaders surprised. This is the Asian Mission Consultation. You never noticed us to bring the Westerners here. Who invited them? I said, I invited. ASEAN alone cannot do that. We have to do together East and West. That's why I invited West to join East. But they didn't agree. I had a problem. Long discussion with him. That was 5 days consultation. Then finally I negotiated. First 2 days, we come with East and West together. Last 3 days, we will come Asian alone. They said no. They said no. Asian first, Western later. I have no anti-Western spirit because we have no experience of the Western colony. We were always favored Westerners because Korean was a Japanese colony. Finally, they said, 3 days Asian first, final 2 days, let we come together, discuss with the East and West together. I was very hard to pursue to the Westerners. I called the Western friends. We have a problem. Those who formerly your colony country come from Indonesia, India, Singapore, Pakistan, etc. They don't agree with your coming. They are surprised. Even though I invited, they don't agree to sit together with you. The reason was that they are talkative. Westerners are talkative. We have no time to discuss. They will talk much. We will be Nisla. Then, very much angry. Who was very angry? George Peters was very angry. Who refused us? Who'd like omit us? Then Dr. Winter said, there are no reason to refuse their suggestion. We will wait 3 days at the outside. First 3 days, Westerners were unable to attend their meeting. They are waiting at the outside of the door. Try to listen what they are talking. We discussed our Asian alone. 3 days. While we are discussing Asian alone, the Western scholars, Western leaders, they get together by themselves now, their own meeting. Then they rewrote all the papers, newly made. Already prepared paper was given. New paper was delivered. Very humble papers. Final 2 days was their type. Dr. Glassa, Dr. Winter, Dr. Wagner, Clyde Taylor, and Jeffrey Zane, even George Peters, everybody was very much gently presented their papers. After that, we reached to organize the continuation committee. The continuation committee appointed me as a general secretary. They resolved 3 things. We Asian will sending out at least 200 more missionaries within a year from now. Within a year, we send out 200 more missionaries to Asia. unreached area. Secondly, we are encouraging the formation of a national missions association in every country in Asia. Thirdly, we are working for the establishment of East-West Center for Missions Research and Development in Seoul. That means the East-West cooperate together. That was my proposition. These three propositions was achieved. Within 1 year, we have sent 200 more missionaries to Kalimantan, Indonesia, which is most unevangelized zone in Indonesia. Northeastern area of Thailand, we are the most of the unevangelized Thailand area. We sent 200 more missionaries there. Then also, Missions Association was formed until the 1945. Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia. Here we have the India Missions Association. That was organized because of the All Asia Mission Consultation decision. In Japan also. In Hong Kong, Dr. Philip Deng organized the Hong Kong Missions Association. In Indonesia, Dr. Octavianus organized it. Then, East-West Center for Missions Research and Development was established immediately after the consultation in 1973. First Summer Institute of World Mission was held. From the next day of the consultation. "67 students from 5 Asian countries were enrolled as students. 4 professors who attended the consultation, Dr. Glassa, Ralph Winter, Peter Wagner, George Peters, they were instructors for first Summer Institute of World Mission. This Summer Institute of World Mission was the first one. Until that time, Fuller themselves, they didn't have the Summer Institute. After the 1973, they saw this is very effective. Then they started 2 years later, summer course, As the executive director of Continuation Committee, I initiated the formation of Asian Missions Association, which is AMA. It has become a first regional missions association in the world. AMA inaugural meeting met from August 28 to September 1 in 1975 at the Academy House in Seoul, with delegates from the 13 Asian countries: Bangladesh, Republic of China, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Pakistan, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and the Western Fraternal delegate from Germany, Netherlands, and United Kingdom and the United States. The inaugural convention of AMA affirmed Seoul Declaration on Christian Mission, which I have drafted. Seoul Declaration on Christian Mission. That declaration became a counterpart of Written Declaration, 1966, and the Frankfurt Declaration of 1970. AMA grew very quickly, influenced even beyond Asia to Africa and Latin America. Nigeria Evangelical Missions Association was formed by Pana Baba, who attended the second triennial convention of AMA in Singapore, 1978. The Association of the Brazil Missions formed by the Jonathan Santos, who attended the third triennial convention of AMA in Seoul, 1982. In addition to that, the Third World Missions Association was launched in May 1989 as an intercontinental network of missions in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Many Western leaders noticed these ventures. They opened their eyes. I was invited by Billy Graham to join the preparatory consultation for Lausanne Congress on Evangelism. Preparatory consultation was held in Atlanta, Georgia, 1 year before 1974. I was honored to serve as chairperson at the third days of meeting of the preparatory consultation. Maybe this was the first time small yellow person become a chairperson of the Lausanne Congress consultation. In 1974, I was appointed as a speaker of a plenary session on mission strategy at the Congress. My paper at the Lausanne, entitled Innovation of Mission Structure for the New World. Innovation of mission structure, because of that subject is very strong impact. Many television newsmakers focused my face. This yellow guy trying to be an innovator for the mission structure. At the paper, I stressed the need to move away from the one-way mission of the Western world to a two-way approach of mission. I also emphasized that both East and West have a need and resource. Most of Westerners thinking, in the East there are need of mission, there are field of the need. They don't know aware we have abundant resources. The Westerners, they have resources, but we know that they have need missionary to Western world. In the Jesus globe, field all God's resource. Nothing different between the East and West. In the East, many resources of the mission and need also still exist. In the West, even though they have the resource, but they do need for the mission in the West too. I emphasize that. And input-output must therefore come from the both sides. Input-output must come from the East and West together. And East and West should join hands in order to research and analyze the availability of the resource and area of the need. And in this way, to produce new force of mission from both worlds, not one side, In this ongoing effort, The Lord gave me a number of loyal partners of the West to fulfill my dream of East-West cooperation in missionary leadership development. The first was Donald McGavran, Fuller School of World Mission. He encouraged me with writing an article in 1972 in his Church Growth Bulletin. Even though I had not had the opportunity to meet him personally until 1972, he had heard about my effort to stimulate the missionary movement in Asia and spoke highly of my labors. By my invitation, he came to Seoul in 1974 to teach the Summer Institute World Mission, which I have started in 1973. He advised me continuously in my work toward developing Asian leadership in mission. Until his death, he was a loyal supporter for my effort to bring East and West together in mission cooperation. The second was Ralph Winter, who is one of my mentors and a partner for the East-West cooperation of mission leadership development. For 36 years, from 1973 until his death in May 2009, he was associated with my activities of mission leadership development and networking for the Third World missions. I often requested to him join me in mission work in Seoul, Manila, Thailand, Moscow, Ephesus, and elsewhere, and he never said no. He also never hesitated to write to North Korean leaders, inviting them to William Carey International University for my peace mission movement with North Korea. The third special partner in mission has been Dr. Dale W. Kitzman. He was the former U.S. Director for Wycliffe Bible Translators, and he became Vice President of East-West Center for Missions Research and Development in Seoul, assisting my effort for East-West cooperation. He served with me since 1974. While he was serving Executive Vice President of William Carey International University, he visited North Korea with me 3 times as my fellow workers for mission to North Korea. Ralph Winter, Dale Kitzman, and I were born in 1924, and we have ministered together the advancement of mission from the non-Western world. From 2000 to 2003, I served as a missionary in Russia. In Russia, I established the Russian Institute of Christian Leadership Development in Moscow. And by the result of this institute, formed the Moscow Synod of the Church of Christ Russia in 2002. I hosted 8th Triennial Convention of Asian Missions Association, which was held in Moscow in September 2003. I also formed the Asian Society of Missiology, which in 2007 elected Timothy K. Park as the first president. In November 2006, 9th Triennial Convention of the Asian Missions Association was held in Ephesus, Turkey. The theme of the convention was the mission, the apostolic way. The Third World Mission Association initiated to call the centennial celebration and consultation of Edinburgh 1910 in Tokyo. TWMA became a major sponsoring body of Tokyo 2010 global consultation and celebration in May 11 to 15 next week. The coming 10th Triennial Convention of AMA will be held in Jakarta, Indonesia, November 3 to 7 this year. That will be hosted by the Jacob Napfai, who graduated East West Center in 1978. All of this achievement was the result of my initiation of the non-Western movement, collaboration with East-West, networking formation, Asia-wide, and the third world-wide, even the global-wide. Yong-Jung Cho, as a planner of the Tokyo 2010 meeting, also he was elected as a general coordinator for the global network of mission structure, JNMS. That was the dream of the Ralph Winter. So we have the AMA, IMA, KWMA. In every country, they have the association. Also Asia Association, Third World Association, now Global Association. That is the way, the accomplishment of the mission before he coming on again, on us again. Thank you.